Hello, this is Lorraine, your host from Once Upon a Nightmare. Every Tuesday I like to delve into the horrors of the world, be it fiction or real. I've had a healthy and what some will call a strange obsession with true crime and horror movies for well over 30 years now. So if those two topics pique your interest, then please go check out Once Upon a Nightmare podcast. It is available on multiple platforms, and don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. Thank you.
What up, though? It's your girl, Tamara Dawn, and welcome to Tamara Till the Break of Dawn. Now, first things first, I want to thank y'all for hopping on my train of thought today, because you literally could be doing anything else right now, so I appreciate you tuning in. And before I get too far off into this intro, I definitely want to give a special shout out to my podcast fam. So make sure y'all actually check out them podcast suggestions in the episode note. Last but not least, want to give a special shout out to Sniper T for this beat, and all his information can be found in the episode notes as well. So, now that we got all that out the way, let's get it. Hey y'all, hey, what up though? All right, y'all, I'm always excited, but I got a special episode for y'all today. Y'all know last season, at the end of the season, I did kind of like reflect on how I've grown in the first season of podcasting. And I think it's a good way to kind of end every season, which don't trip because, you know, I don't take no break. So the next season will be next week. But I have some guests with me that I'm super excited, especially one because he don't never be active on, okay, I won't say never, barely, rarely he makes special appearances on social media. But today with me I have J Boog from J's Quick 3, which y'all have heard her on the podcast Happy Hour, and you know I talk about her a lot. So in addition to that, man, y'all know I talk about OG Mike a lot because we're just gonna say he was the first podcaster I met, because if it was somebody else, I don't know who it was. So I got him from Off the Record podcast. And then I also have Quan. Like, Quan actually graced us with his presence on this episode today. So I'm super excited about that. So y'all go ahead and, I don't know, how y'all doing?
Good.
Well,
I mean,
bless.
Good. Well, we're gonna let Quan speak first, since
Right.
You don't know when the next time you're gonna catch him on here. So go ahead, Quan.
Look, you're gonna be catching me on here a lot. Okay, I'm out here.
He's out here, y'all.
Yeah, I'm honored to be on the show, and you know, I know that I'm kind of like the ghost rider. I'm kind of like behind the scenes, and I'm always watching. I'm always listening. I may not always be active all the time, but I'm doing a lot better now. So with that being said, podcasting world is OTR Quan with the OTR podcast, and happy and, you know, honored to be here.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's OTR Mike, as many of y'all know me on Twitter, or OG Mike, as Tamara always calls me. But yeah, from the Off the Record podcast, I am honored to be on the show with two of my favorite black, I'm gonna make sure we say that, black women podcasters, and that's J Boog from J's Quick 3 and Tamara from Tamara the Dawn. What up, though? So I'm happy to be with you, ladies. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yep.
And he just said it. I'm Jay from J's Quick 3. I am also honored to be here because I don't really call him OG Mike. It's between OG Mike and OTR Mike, but it's Big Mike. And he's also probably one of the first podcasters that I met between, it's either Tam and then Mike, or Mike and then Tam. I don't know, whatever it was. Both of y'all were pretty close, but you know, I'm super honored to be here. And then with, of course, Quan, who's graced us with his presence today. Very excited about that today.
Right. Y'all didn't even know. I was very happy that that's who he said was coming with him when we were planning it, just because I feel like I interact with everybody else, but Quan, he is growing. I did see he posted a video on I think I saw it on Twitter and Instagram. So he's doing something. He just don't really be on Twitter like that. So yeah, like I said, we're kind of gonna talk about the highs and lows of podcasting, almost like a behind the music, but the podcast edition, because for those of y'all who listen who are not podcasters, there's literally so much that goes on behind the scenes and whatnot on the administrative side. Like, I feel like aside from technical difficulties, recording is pretty easy. And so we're going to get into that. But I definitely wanted off the record on here because I know there are differences between solo podcasting versus group podcasting. And I know they've kind of talked about a little bit of that on their show. I heard on some episode. And so why don't y'all start with like what even made y'all start podcasting? And then off the record, why don't y'all, I saw y'all just had like a little, I don't want to say little because that sounds haterish, but y'all doing a lot right now. But so y'all could talk about that too. But like what even made y'all all get into podcasting?
So I'll try to keep it short because it's kind of a lengthy story, but believe it or not, me and Brandon have been talking about podcasting for a minute and we just ain't know where to start. So of course we're Black folks, you procrastinate and we didn't do too much research on it. So it kind of died down. And Alex, who's on the show as well, him and I and another buddy were going to a baseball game here in Baltimore. And it was raining. So, the game didn't get canceled. So, again, Black folks in rain, we was kind of like, man, are we going to go to this game or not? So we kind of waited for it to die down. So we stopped to get something to eat. And Alex just out of the blue was just like, yo, I got a podcast. And we were like, no, but why don't we know? Like, I mean, we've only known you for 20 plus years. Like, why don't we know? And he was just like, man, I kind of kept it to myself. But at that time that he had told us, he had been in it for 3 years and his Lakers Central podcast was starting to pick up. Like it had started to gain some steam that he wasn't even expecting it to do. So that night we decided to go to the game, and on the way to the game, we listened to a show. And we were like, man, look, like we've been talking about doing it, but we just didn't know where to start. And now So you fast forward a little bit. OTR originally started with just 3 members. It was me, Brandon, and Alex at first. So we started to do some promos and just to see how it would sound and see how we liked it. And then Brandon couldn't come one week, so we were still doing pilot episodes, and we asked Quan, like, Quan, man, you want to get on, just try it. And Quan came. We shot, I think that day we did like 2 episodes with Quan. And Quan was like, man, I'm trying to be down. And we like, all right, you sure? Because like it's a big commitment, and that's how Quan joined. So really, it just came out of it was something we talked about, but it ended up mashing up because we found out Alex had his podcast and he could help us get started. He had already knew the way, so we just jumped in like that. But it was just something that for us, because what we talk about on the show is basically what we do in person when we get together. It's just we shoot the shit, we tease each other, we talk about we talk about deep topics. I mean, like it's just really what we do. So we like, man, let's see how it would sound if we recorded. So that's how OTR started.
So the Man Weave episode, because y'all recently re-released that one, and I hadn't heard it because y'all have several episodes out by the time I found y'all. And so I usually, if you keep releasing, then I'll just stick with you. But then if you miss a week, like I think y'all missed a week or 2 or something like that in there, then I'll go back through the archives. So was that the first episode Quan was on? Because I noticed Brandon wasn't on that episode.
Exactly. Yeah, that was it. That was Quan's first episode.
Actually, my first podcasting debut was actually Man Weave.
And were you putting a weave on or something in, like, because it just seemed like, based on what y'all was saying, like you were modeling what you were talking about.
No, what happened was Alex had an actual clip.
Oh,
that actually
okay.
Yeah, actually had the man weave, and I was like, yo, this, because I heard about it, but to actually see it, I was like, yo, this shit's amazing.
Okay.
And this is something to where, it's new. It's something new in the industry. It fucked. Excuse me. I'm sorry. It messed the game up.
You good?
It messed the game up. For a lot of sisters, because they were like, what is this man weave thing? We didn't even know anything about it, and to actually see it and to actually see how it's sculpted and everything, it was amazing to me. So I actually didn't have an actual man weave. I actually didn't actually stick like stick some horsey hair on, what I'm saying, on the top of my crown or anything, but it was something to look at, and I was amazed by it.
Now that you say that, though, now that you think about it and listening to the episode again, it did sound like we were like trying it out.
Yeah,
because it was like, yo, look at this shit. Like Alex was like, yo, look at that, yo, look at this. Like,
and then your fiance came down, and so I just really thought y'all had one, and Quan was modeling it. I was like, oh, okay, go ahead.
No, Alex came prepared. He had pictures and everything, so he was showing us showed us different pictures and clips of before and after, and we were just blown away, like, oh, okay. That's how that works.
All right. So Quan, anything you want to add to the OTR start? What made you, I guess I'll ask this, what made you decide you wanted to, be a part of it?
Honestly, I always felt as if, we always had a group of friends and brothers, to where, like, we just like Mike said, we would always touch on different topics, and we would always have conversations, whether if it was, illustrated conversations, political conversations, current events, whatever. We would always indulge in those particular topics and conversation, and it would always be something to where we would always think back, like, yo, what was we thinking when we discussed this shit? So, like, I always had a feeling. I always knew when it came to particular things that we would discuss, I would always be on board with something. I guess in the sense of the podcasting show, I guess that was more so just I fell into it, honestly. I fell into the show pretty much, like I said, I had discussed some things prior, and I've always said, like, yo, man, what if we had a show? What if we did something and touched on different things, discussions or whatever? But, this actually happened. I actually just fell into it. I was just in the right place at the right time. My brothers called me over just to try it, and, it was organic, and it's been flowing ever since.
Yeah, y'all definitely. I like the dynamics of each of your personalities and just what you all bring, to the conversation. So you're definitely one of my regulars that I keep up with and try to listen to. I've tried to get more to the point of every week. Before it'd be like 2 weeks go by and then I'm playing catch up, but now I'm like, let me just stay on top of it. So I definitely appreciate what y'all bring to the podcast world. And then especially OG Mike, I call him that because he just gives me OG vibes. Like, I've gone to him with questions, and like, he never makes me feel like he doesn't want to share the knowledge that he has or give insight. And then he just gives encouragement to like everyone in the podcast community. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
definitely appreciate what y'all bring to the community. J Boog, Miss J's Quick 3, my homie. Yes.
Quick 3. First, Jay, let me jump in. First of all, your concept, I don't know if I ever told you this, but your concept is like, so I'm like in this podcast thing, when I meet people that have like a banging ass like concept, I'm like, yo, you got something. Like, I get excited. So like you doing the quick 3, I just think that's amazing. So sorry, jumped in there, sorry, but
thank you, Mike.
you have a great concept with that.
No, you right though, because I don't have a format at all. I just and I don't know that I ever will have a format, but I appreciate that she does, and just that I know, okay, boom, 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 and so why don't you get into, since we're on that, your journey and how you got started and why you got started?
Well, let's see. I'm kind of new in the game, so I started last year, but ever since I was a kid, I guess you can say I'm kind of a creative type person. So I used to write a lot, write like short stories when I was like, I don't know, elementary and junior high. And then it moved into like doing poetry. And then I really got into entertainment when I got into high school.
Y'all, she a super producer, low key, but go ahead.
Thank you for thinking that, but I'm not. Shout out to YouTube. But but I really got into entertainment in probably like 8th grade, going into 9th grade. And I was like listening to like Wendy Williams and Russ Parr and Tom Joyner, and I would hear their radio, shows. And so I actually started like making my own radio shows, like in my room, and like making my sister be somebody I'm interviewing, which she didn't want to do later anyway. And so I would like record them and like put songs together. So I was like, this is something that I might want to do. Like I enjoy doing this. I enjoy talking about, entertainment and music and blah, 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 blah. I would just read all my magazines and just get all my information that way. Anyway, fast forward to, past college, past, being an adult and stuff like that. I kind of fell off from it. I would write a little bit, but I wasn't doing as much. And so probably like 2018, I started feeling like I need to, like, what happened to that girl that was like so into doing something? Like she had at least some kind of release. So no matter what I was doing, I was always writing or recording something or trying to make songs or whatever. Like, I can't sing, but don't tell me that, because I think that I think I can play songs. I was trying to mess with different instruments and things like that. And so I started looking into things, and I was watching like YouTube videos. And so I was like, oh, let me try to do a YouTube channel. So I was telling my best friend, because she was someone who back at home, who that's all we used to talk about was TLC and all these other stuff. So I was like, let's do a YouTube video, and we can, since, we grew up in the 80s and 90s, let's make a YouTube channel that's based off that, to kind of tell the young kids how things used to be. A lot of the songs now are like sampling the 90s and things like that. And so she was like, yeah, let's do that. So I was getting the camera, doing all this stuff. I couldn't figure it out. I was mad. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. So started thinking again, and I was already listening to podcasts, but I really wasn't sure what it was. Like I'm into politics also. So I was listening to a lot of political politics, especially back in like 2015, 16, when we were getting ready to be in the situation we're in now. So I was like heavy into that. And so I was like, let me try to do a podcast. So me and her were going to do a podcast. Long story short, that didn't work out. We couldn't figure things out. I was trying to figure out how to do everything, because I didn't know, like, the technology that I knew back in the day is not the technology now. Excuse me. So I started practicing by myself, just on my own. And I've told this story on my show, but I was going through therapy at the time, and I had a lot of not a lot of shows, but I had a lot of recordings that I was doing on my own. And my therapist was like, well, you got to put it out. Like, what's the purpose of you saving it all just to keep it or whatever? And I was like, well, I don't know if I'm ready. Like, I don't know if people are going to like it. I don't know. Like, the audio sucks. And she was like, well, how would you know that unless you put it out? Like, you have to be able to like get some feedback. And I was like, no. And so the next time she asked me, she was like, well, do you have an episode ready? I was like, yeah. She's like, okay, well, let's put it out. And I was like, what? She's like, no, let's put it out. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, get on your thing and let's hit send or whatever it is. And I was like, right now? She's like, yeah, I'll wait. Let's do it. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to do it. So I
Mm.
did it, and long story short, I put it out, and I wanted it to be something to like a YouTube video. When I would watch, a lot of people would get a lot of information in a short amount of time. I would watch a 10-minute video and they would say this, 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 and this. And I was like, well, I want to be able to put something out and not take necessarily a long time. I just want to throw out 3 just came in my head. Let me just pick 3 things. First, it was like 5. I was like, well, no, let me just pick 3 things I could talk about really quickly and then I could be done, because I was still nervous about doing it. So I wanted it to be like 10, 20 minutes, no longer than that. But that's how it happened. Now it's 45 to 50 minutes. Who knows?
So for y'all, what kind of dictates where you get your content from? Because like for me, which obviously my show is a little bit different than yours in the sense that it's really just my journal. So what dictates my content is kind of either what I'm going through. That's really what it mainly is, like what I'm going through and struggles I'm having or ways I'm trying to grow and all that good stuff. And then that's about it. It's really just whatever I'm doing. But y'all come up with so many different just topics and guests and all these things. So where do y'all get the inspiration for that, or what kind of, and then for the group, who decides that? Is it that one person has their role? And why don't you get into that too, as far as like the role dynamics for the 4 of y'all? But whoever could go first out of the 3 of y'all.
So for us, like, to be honest, man, some of the things that some of the content that we come up with, it is planned. Like we'll especially lately with the interviews that we've been doing. I mean, that's something that's new for us. Jumping into the interview side of things. So, those are pretty much planned out. And that came about, I had a conversation with Quan. And we were talking about the direction of the show, and I was like, man, Quan I think so. We had my buddy on, our buddy, who used to play for the Redskins. And here's a guy a professional athlete that, we rub shoulders with. So it's like, like we know people, you know what I'm saying? And so I had a conversation with Quan after that episode because it went so well. And I was like, Quan, like, we got to start using, these contacts that we have. You know what I mean? We got to start, like, we know people, we know more people than we think. And Quan was like, man, you're absolutely right. And that's, I one thing after that conversation, I can say, and I noticed, and I haven't told Quan this yet, but like it kind of put, like, I'm not gonna say fire, but it like excited Quan. So Quan started like going through things like, oh yeah, I know this guy that's a movie director. I know this and I know that. And so the guest we had on today, Flip Mary, who was a former NBA player, that came from Quan. Quan, that's one of Quan's contacts, and that's how we got him on today. So that's how we come up with like the interview side of things. But really, we all in a text thread, and something can happen, or something jumps in one of our mind, and we're like, yo, let's talk about this. Or what y'all think about this? And for the most part, like, we pretty much agree on everybody's topics that's thrown out there. We might say, I'm not that strong in that topic, but y'all will have to lead it, or whatever the case may be. But a lot of the times, man, it's just something that jumps in one of our heads. We throw it out there. We like, yo, that would be dope. And one of the things with us also that's been pretty cool is like, this has given us a new dimension of being, Rona. If you're going to think Rona for one thing, it'll be that it forced us to do everything virtually. So it allows us to, something might happen. One thing that's jumping in my head is the Will Smith and Jada thing. And when that first dropped, man, we was just like, yo, we got to get on. Like, let's do it right now. It was like, all right. So we just all hopped on right now. And that episode wasn't I mean, you know, it wasn't planned. It just happened like that, and we just got on and started talking about it. So, you know, we really don't put. I mean, I don't want it to sound like that because that'll sound bad. But we put thought into our topics, but it's not something that we like. All right, this week we got to do this. It's just something that happens organically for us, and I think that's what makes it. Because when we typically get on and it's like it just flows, so it just happens organically for us, and I think that's what makes us appealing to some of the listeners because it just happens. I mean, I'll let Quan speak. I don't know if you feel that way too, Quan, but it just like we really don't plan. You know, somebody will be feeling some way. Like we got an episode coming up that we're going to do this week coming, and one of us, Alex, was feeling a certain kind of way about it, and he was like, "Yo, I'm calling the emergency recording. We gotta do it."
Oh, y'all do emergency recordings. Wow. Okay.
It's like,
okay.
All right, like somebody feeling some kind of way, like those, we feel like those are the best moments, and so we go with it. We try to support each other and what they throw out there, and we just go with it.
Yeah, you know, to jump in and to discuss that, I think what we do, for one, we're very supportive of each other, right? And as well as the topics that we discuss and the things that we do want to bring to the table for our viewers and our subscribers, as well as being able to make sure we can have connections, you know, to jump on to other platforms, you know, such as your platform and you giving us, you know, a light. I think we're always keeping that in our heads whenever we're making sure that we can provide proper content. Listening, you know, to the people, you know, getting a feel for what's going on, keeping our ears, you know, abroad to everything and listening, you know. I think that's really big. And it's like I said, being supportive and making sure that, you know, everything that we bring, the content that we do bring, and it's sometimes, and you know why, I'm sorry, I don't mean to kind of jump off topic, but
you're good.
we work on our content, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like work. You know?
Yeah.
So just like to what Mike said, like, you know, he was like, we kind of do it this way. It's like as if we work at what we do, but it's not really work because we love what we do. So for instance, if we have a topic that we're going to discuss, and sometimes, like I said, we all bring something to the table and we'll be like, we'll throw it, we'll hold that for later, or, you know, until we get to something to where like, all right, this is it. We all get to work individually, you know? So once that topic hits, and once we decide, and once we, you know, we get together, and, you know, when it comes to production or how we're going to go about it, all of us individually get to work. There's not any of us, you know, I know in my mind that it isn't working to make sure we can bring proper content to the show. And even at times where it may get silent, right? It may get silent throughout the week, but we all know that it's that silence because everybody's doing that diligence to make sure that we're providing great content and great work. You know what I mean? So when we get to the day of, you know, it's kind of like, all right, boom, we all kind of excited. You know what I mean? We're all like hyped. We're all like, all right, we all prepped, we've all prepared. Just like, for instance, like this episode that we just had, it was, you know, I wanted to kind of like, yo, let's call a production meeting to kind of like get in order, you know what I'm saying, the sense of how we're going to go about it. But because I knew for a fact, like, yo, once it turns on, you know, we're all going to provide, you know, adequate, you know, information, and we're all going to provide what we need to provide for the show and for the interview. So, like I said, it's organic again, and it's something to where it doesn't feel as if it's work. You know, we all want to make sure that we're standing on one pillar or more pillars for each other to make sure that, you know, we're doing a great job for each other and by each other, and as well as for the, you know, the viewers and the followers and the subscribers. So, and the new folks that are coming on abroad and listening as well. So,
yeah, I mean, and to jump in real quick and piggyback off of that, Quan, is we do set out to touch on topics that you know that we feel people want to hear four Black men talk about, or their opinion. You know what I mean? And sometimes those are topics that you typically don't hear four Black men talking about. So, you know, we do see what's going on in the world, like Quan said, and we something to jump, that might give us an idea like, yo, we should touch on this or whatever the case may be. But we like to pride ourselves on saying that nothing is off limits. And so we're willing to talk about any and everything. But we just started like literally because we did realize like, all right, we can't keep saying, all right, yo, we're gonna record on Saturday. And, all right, we're gonna talk about this. All right. We can't just keep coming to the table and like, all right, we just gonna fly off the head and just record because, we feel like we put on a good show, but like we not great. So we can't we can't, we can't expect to be able to put that magic on every time. So like, we kind of had a heart-to-heart a couple weeks ago. And I don't know, so I'm releasing some on your show.
That's okay.
You the homie. I'm releasing some info that nobody know. But like if you notice, like a couple weeks ago was no episodes from us.
Yep, I pay attention.
Because we can't we kind of came to heads. And we had some issues with each other. And it's always love because we 4 brothers, we known each other for 20 plus years. But like, we had some behind the scenes shit where we was like, hey, all right, we got to work this out before we move forward. And real talk is being honest. Like we had talks of like, yo, OTR ending. That's how we came to a head. Like just to be straight transparent with everybody. Like, but then we had some real man-to-man talk. We just took some time off from each other and from the show, and it was just like when we came back together, it was like, all right, look, this is what we got to do, and this is what we're gonna do because we are getting more attention, and we weren't expecting this. You know what I mean? So we get more attention, so it's like, the pressure started. We started to feel some pressure to keep putting on a show because people want to hear it, and so I think part of it was like we wanted to make sure. We got away from being organic, and we was like, all right, well, we got to do this. And if you're not doing this, or Quan, you're not doing your part, and Mike, you're not doing your part. So it was just like, yo, let's chill. Let's take a few weeks off. Let's see what happens. And so we've really just started getting like organized with like, and I think I shared this with you two when we were chatting about putting this episode on, like, yo, we just started doing production meetings and stuff like that. Like, yeah. but it's helped. It's helped us a lot. You know what I mean? And we just started a Google Calendar. Like, believe it or not, like we would just a lot of the stuff we were doing was just, we were just flying by the seat of our pants, man. And we're grateful that we were able to put on good enough content to keep listeners. But now we moving on to doing a ton of other stuff, and we know that, hey, we got to be organized and do in that way we can make sure that we're doing it the right way. So yeah, like being completely transparent, like that's what we go through sometimes being in a group podcast.
All right, Jay, your quick 3. Where do you find these 3 and what kind of makes you decide what you want to actually talk about? Because I know it's a ton of stuff going on in the world, and I notice you don't always stick to just I don't want to say the major, but like the current events that everyone else is kind of going to talk about. You usually have stuff that I've probably never heard of and probably would never hear of if I hadn't watched your show, which I appreciate that because I don't always look into what's going on in the world like that. But what kind of drives you and makes you like have either such a strong opinion about it or, whatever?
Well, I mean, I'm not big time like the OTR guys or anything like that, but I just do me. Like when I started my show, I just wanted to be like authentically me and what I'm interested in. And I was like, well, maybe other people might resonate with what I'm saying. So that's just what it is. And I purposefully, if I can say the word, sorry, I've been sipping. I did not want to do like the trendy thing. Like I didn't want to like do like, I mean, no shade to anybody else that's doing whatever. Like I didn't want to do like, let me check Shade Room and see what they're talking about, or let me check whatever. Like I didn't want to do that. I've never been the type of person that follows like the trend, I guess you can say. I just wanted to like, I'm interested in this. I love Cardi, I might love Megan or whatever, but I'm not, everybody else is talking about that. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about this certain thing because that's what interests me.
Mhm.
So I honestly, I don't even know how I come up with the 3. Like I always say, I'm like scrolling through either social media or I'll see something on TV or it's something that maybe personally happened to me. And I just talk about that. A lot of times, and I noticed, especially when I was on my break or whatever, I'm kind of like, I will just go record and just throw my ideas out. Like some people may write them down or whatever. I don't really keep a notebook of ideas. I just go record and I'll just say, this is what I'm thinking. I'm just going to say it. And then it's been times where I've listened back to some of the stuff I've heard and I take one thing from that and one thing from that. And then either I piece it together or I'll just re-record it because I'm like, oh, that was an idea that I had. And now I know a little bit more information about it. So I'm going to talk about that. So that's kind of how my process goes, where it's just whatever interests me. And if it's all personal stuff that one week or whatever, then that's what it is. Or if it's all entertainment that week, then that's what it is. But yeah, it's what I'm interested in. I can care less. Really, I don't really care about what is trending and what is, what everybody else is listening to or talking about. I thought about it. I probably could be more popular if I went that route. Like, oh, this is what everybody's talking about. Let me talk about that because maybe I'll get more listens. But it's like, that's not me. Like, I've never been that person. So I'm not going to do that. If I'm going to do this podcast thing, I want to be myself 100% because that's what I feel like people are coming to listen to. And that's all I can give. So that's how I come up with my topics.
I say that all the time. I can only give y'all what I got. And, it's sometimes I'll see something, but it's always related to something that I'm interested in anyway. Like when I do those Twitter polls or Facebook polls, some of that stuff is inspired by maybe I saw a tweet or maybe I saw a meme or something, because it's kind of like I don't always want to process my life on here. Like it's super helpful, but at the same time, I'm so much more than just, oh, this is what I'm going through. And so, like, as I'm continuing with this, I'm noticing that, like, stuff like that, having guests, having conversations, being able to have my listeners get to hear from either just people I know and, are good friends with, or other podcasters that I know, okay, we already got rapport. So it's not going to be a dry conversation. I know what I could joke about, even because if I can't joke with you, then that's just not going to work just because of how I am. So, though going back to what Mike said, I've had to get a lot more organized. I had to buy like an actual paper planner and sit down and just kind of like have certain things written on like release dates. Like, okay, this is going to be episode like season 2 episode that, or episode number this, or okay, you're recording with these people on this day. Now that apparently that's a thing that I'm doing more frequently, just because it just helps me with staying on top of stuff. I sometimes have bullet points, but usually I don't need it, because usually whatever I've talked about, it's something I'm already have a kind of strong opinion about, or it just really interests me or whatever, because relationship dynamics and all that is just something I'm extremely passionate about, and just people kind of just treating people kindly. You think about with Chadwick Boseman having just died, and I remember the video he posted on Instagram where he looked very skinny, and I thought maybe he was, how they'll gain weight and lose weight for roles and stuff like that. But the way people were going in on him in them comments was like, people are trash on the internet sometimes. You can say all this behind the screen that you would never say to that person, most likely in real life. And to know that, man, to know that he was battling cancer while y'all just being so unkind. See, that's the stuff that like pisses me off and makes me though do what I do. And yeah, I'm funny, I'm petty, I'll joke with you, but it's never malicious. And so yeah.
And I think, I feel as if, the content that that you guys, that you ladies hold and that you possess and you're able to actually put it out. The world that we live in today, just like you said, the situation with Chadwick Boseman and, people actually not really understanding what was really going on with him, but yeah, throwing shots and just being malicious and just saying things on the internet. And I think that now is a good time that, and this is, I'm saying, going back to the content that, y'all provide. I think it's amazing. I think it's great because at the end of the day, like, you're providing positive waves and you're providing something to where people can actually home in on and they can change people's lives for the better. J Boog, going back to what you were saying about the content that you put out and you provide for your podcast, it's something to where, you don't want to be in the norm. You want to stick to your lane and you want to be able to provide content to where like-minded people such as yourself and podcasters and people can gravitate towards that. You know what I mean? That, where they can change their lives for the better and people that come across it as well. You know what I mean? I think it's inspirational what y'all are doing, and just like you said, what's going on in this world today that's so wild and so crazy and people are just so nasty to where, you're using your platform for the greater good and, y'all fighting that good fight. So I just want to let y'all know that very proud of y'all for what y'all are doing, and y'all just keep it up. And, we're definitely supportive because that's what we need. That's what we need to give people the flowers while they're here. And, what y'all are doing is amazing.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I appreciate the community aspect of the podcast world. And I guess that'll be a good segue to my next thing, which is kind of like, what are your favorite things about podcasting? I think for me, it's definitely the community aspect. It's something that I always say I didn't expect at all. And like for me, podcasting just kind of came about. I didn't really listen to podcasts prior to becoming a podcaster other than like church sermons. So I'll listen to like Transformation Church. If I don't really get into YouTube videos, so I would listen to it while I was cooking or meal prepping or doing dishes or just whatever. And then also Elevation Church. So that was the only podcasting I had ever really heard until I got into this world. But it's like the community aspect. Everybody is so supportive. And I mean, I'm sure there's maybe some competition and all these things people have in the back of their mind somewhere. But for the most part, I just feel like it's not an industry where you should have that mindset because like I listen to easily 10 different podcasts plus, I won't say in a day, but maybe depending on like, and so it's kind of like there's no room for that. And so I just, my favorite thing is just the community, the people who are kind of like on the same page as me with that, in the sense that like Baylor, shout out to him. Of course, shout out to Autumn, Chris, and Audrey who aren't on here. Shout out to D Murph. These are people that really all y'all been doing this longer than me, but those are people that I always see retweet other people's stuff. And I know there are others, so don't, feel like you were left out. Paige from Revere True Crime. She is another one. And then also Jules.
She a beast.
Yeah, Jules from Riddle Me This podcast. Like they literally talking shiz too. They'll just tag everybody and their mama in everything
every day.
Yes, every day.
Yeah.
And I don't like doing that stuff because I just know so many people and I feel bad if I leave someone out. But I try to do it every now and then if it's something specific, like, oh, who's the last 5 podcasts you listen to? Okay, well, that's easy. and I don't, but that's my favorite thing about it. Other than the fact that for me, this is a therapeutic outlet. So like, I don't have a set recording schedule because it kind of really depends on how I feel strongly about something. Like my confessions episodes, it'd be like I can't sleep or something. Okay, let me go ahead and record and get this out, and then I literally feel better. So those are kind of like my favorite things about podcasting. What are y'all's favorite things about podcasting?
Being able to connect, being able to discuss certain topics, getting a well rounded base of perspectives, getting a chance to see you orchestrate and you create something and put it out into existence, and actually being able to have people, think on it, or have some type of feedback, good, bad, ugly, something. Like I said, being able to connect, that's for me, honestly. Being able to, get with my brothers and like I said, this is something for me to where I've always wanted to do, in some form or fashion, of all of us maybe coming together and actually creating something and creating, something to where we could look back on this from years to come and, and be proud of what we created. For me, I'm a little, and I know y'all joke on me about this, and so which is fine. I'm like I said, I'm kind of guarded. So being in the podcast world, and this is all. I mean, it's every day. It's new to me. It's been great every day learning about podcasting and what it takes to be a podcaster and become successful as far as the content in the show. But just being able to put myself out there a lot more it's helped me out. It's helped me out individually a lot. So like I said, I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to get a little bit better with it and everything. But like I said, when I first started, I kind of had one foot in, one foot out. I was still, I was still in the trap, as we say, right? They was deep in it, you know what I mean? But I was still kind of like, I didn't realize what we had. I mean, I did to an extent, but I really didn't until I started really seeing the feedback, and I'm like, oh shit, and then Mike is like, getting in my ass about something like yo, like get on the what's name, yo, you check the what's name today, and I'm like, nah, I ain't checking. He was like, yo, you got to get on it and checking, and so I'm then like. Start to see it, and then I'm starting to see, like Tamara, like the shots being thrown, like where are you at? I don't see, and then people starting to actually come out and be like, where's Quan at? So, and that's when I was like, oh, okay, like this is it's picking up, or having other people text me out the blue or reach out to me, that I haven't heard from in years. Saying like, yo, man, I've been listening to your podcast. I've been listening to this. I've been listening to the topics, and so that's when I, those are the things that I enjoy. That's what I, when it comes to becoming, podcasting, the great content that we're putting out, and just being able to connect with other people, and being able to, have our voice just, travel, whatever way we want to do it, whatever way we want to go about it. We're the ones that are in control of our own destiny when it comes to our show and what we want to bring, to the table for everybody. So I just think that podcasting within itself, I think it's just an amazing avenue just to be in.
Yeah, I mean, basically the same as you, Tamara. Like, so. The community side of it really, really shocked me, like getting into it. Yeah. It's not many industries, or especially in the creative industry, where it's not a already ready-made. It's like it's not many industries that you find where the competition isn't already ingrained in that industry, right?
Yeah.
Like, once you dip your foot in that pool, everybody gonna come like, oh, he trying to take my lane, whatever. So I was really, really shocked at that, like how supportive everybody is. So I really enjoy that. And also this podcasting thing for me is therapeutic. That's what it has become for me. I started to realize, and I think I spoke about this on our show, like, I started to see like, I haven't done much for myself. Like, so I really don't have like a hobby anymore. Like, I need something that I'm into doing. And like, once we started this, like, it really clicked for me. Like, damn, this is what I want to do. And that's where, what Quan talk about, like, I'm getting on him, or I'm getting on the others, because I got really, really excited about what we were doing. And it had been a long time, like outside of like coaching, stuff like that. It had been that coaching was probably the last hobby for myself that, I had fun and enjoyed doing. So I jumped in, and I was really, really excited about this. So, I had to will myself back too, because, I expected the same energy that I put out. I expected Quan and Brandon and Alex to put that same energy in. And, anytime you're excited about something, you just wanted to keep going. You want to keep moving at it. So, that's what happened with me. But yeah, those two things, I mean, and of course, like meeting cool, like, we probably would have never met each other. You know what I mean? Like, if it wasn't for this community. So I think that is dope. Like, and I do plan to eventually, when this Rona shit is over, that somehow, some way, that like we all meet each other personally in real life, and in person. So it's like, it's just dope, like meeting all these talented people. Like, I mean, we're in a community where it's a lot of dope people. Like you said, Baylor the Great, and all of those guys, man, shout out to them, and Penrose. I mean, like, and Akeem, and Diapers and Haircuts, and the Cut Podcast, all of those guys, man. It's a lot of talented folks out here. So being connected with these around, I mean, anytime you're around talent, it's a good thing. So those are the things I enjoy about it.
So here's a word about this week's sponsor. Now, ladies, listen. If you live in my city and you've been needing your nails done, Extraordinary Nails by Eva can create custom nails for any occasion. So go ahead and head over to Sola Salons in Shadow Lake and enjoy a private one-on-one session. So you ain't got to worry about all them extra people with the Rona out here. The salon is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 6:30 to 8 p.m. and then 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. The best part is if you mention this ad, you can get some free nail art. All right, so one more thing before I let y'all get back into the episode. If you missed me and my homies on the podcast Happy Hour, we had a live episode on Autumn's platform. She's the Lit Life Podcast. So if you missed the live episode, I'm going to go ahead and put the links to her YouTube page and her Facebook page in the episode notes so you could see what we was doing and all that good stuff. And then next month, we will be on Jay's platform, Jay, who's on the show today from Jay's Quick 3. And I will have more information about that as soon as we get closer to that. Jay, real quick before you go, because he said something that really, you said this is for you. And that's one of the, you said you didn't have a hobby really anymore and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that I've realized why this is so important to me is the fact that every other creative project, like I used to write poetry, well, I still, but I used to perform spoken word or anything else I've ever done. It's always been me supporting somebody else's vision. And it's kind of like, I did it, like I was happy to do it. And I was honored that like people, would ask me to be a part of their spoken word events, or I was actually a part of a group where we planned spoken word nights together, and then I'll get invited to do this, that, and the other. And so that was great. And I was, all in, and what is the word I'm looking for? Took it well, or responsible, or whatever. I just made sure I gave them my all. But then for me, I remember I wanted to start a blog, had writer's block, and then podcasting just kind of came about. And then what I remember the Lord saying to me is that this is for me. And I was like, oh, okay. At first I was just like, okay, cool. Like, that's what's up. I'm gonna have my own little thing that I get to do what I want with it. And it's interesting because other people I'll get DMs where, oh, you should talk about this, when there's like current events going on. And my show isn't necessarily current events driven at all. And so it's kind of like learning how to navigate that, not being like, oh, not open to it, but just remembering I don't have to do that because this is for me. But then it's always layers and levels to stuff like that, because then what I'm learning is, as I think back to episode 1 of Vulnerability Ill, where all I talked about was just how hard it was for me to be vulnerable with people. And then where I'm at now, where I feel like I've grown so much more free and just embracing who I am and just living my truth. And if someone doesn't like it, who cares? Because at the end of the day, there's always going to be the people that love you for you. And I feel like ever since I've done that, people are even more drawn to just it's not like I was ever holding back. It's just been this journey of self-discovery where I don't know that I will be where I'm at, like mentally, emotionally, even physically, with like my weight loss journey, if it hadn't been for the podcast. Because then there's a level of accountability. Like if I'm telling, not the whole world, because my listeners ain't like that, but if I'm telling whoever, oh yeah, I've been doing keto and I'm doing this, that, and the other, and then people get to asking you like, oh, how's that going? So it makes me want to like stay on top of it, of course, for me, but at the same time, like being a woman, to stick to what I said, and then also trying to encourage other people, because I do, feel better. But Jay, what is your favorite thing about podcasting?
My favorite thing about podcasting is kind of like what everybody said, kind of mixed into one. Well, for one, is because I can get my thoughts out, and I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing in some way, shape, or form. Whether I'm writing or speaking, I'm able to get it out, and whether I put it out or not is just a release for me. But the community thing, like Mike said, is it's a surprise to me. Like, first of all, I didn't even realize these many Black people had podcasts from the thread we all met each other on. I think it was Black History. It was during February. It was like, let's shout out all the Black podcasters. Just tag everyone.
February. That feels like a lifetime ago.
I think I found that tweet, and I ended up tweeting it again. But it was like, I didn't realize that many. I had been listening to, like I said, political podcasts, and then I would listen to like some of the like more famous one, like The Read or something like that. But I didn't realize it was that many indie podcasts out there. So I was like so inspired and just so like proud. I'm like, look at this list of people. Never did I think that I would ever like get to know any of you and meet you, not in person, obviously, because of Rona, but like get to talk to you and like fellowship and all this stuff. Like I have with like you and Autumn and Chris and Audrey. And even I'll talk to, Country Boy from The Cut, or I'll talk to Evie from Not Perfect, Just Broke, or whoever it is, like just Shan, or even Mike and stuff, or Alex. Just on social media. I never thought that I would be a part of this community, but just actually not only that, but just like build relationships with people.
Right.
I'm an introvert, so I'm like fine by myself. Like I have my little tight circle of people and I'm good. I didn't expect this stuff to happen. So that's like the biggest thing. And it's such, to me, like a blessing, because you have all these resources just available. And like Mike was saying, like people are just so willing to be like, yeah, let me show you this. I think Country Boy from The Cut was like, I was saying like, oh, I think I want to do some stuff remote. I'm like, but I don't know how to do it. Oh, well, try this program, try that or whatever. And Autumn basically opened her repertoire of everything up to me, and I barely knew her. And she was like, yeah, let's get on Zoom and I'll show you everything. And I'm like, who does that? Like, really?
Yeah.
So at that point, I knew I was surrounded by a lot of like genuine people that was just in it. Just, it's no competition. Like, I'm competitive, but I'm more competitive in a way that it's inspirational. Like, I see what you're doing, so I want to try to do that same thing as far as like get to certain levels. It's just motivating for me, not necessarily I want what you have.
Right.
But it's been dope, and I'm like so appreciative that I talked about this on an episode, but it's just crazy how everything has happened within this since February, really. That tweet set everything off. So it's crazy.
I think we overwhelmed.
It seems like as if like it's amazing how like you can just, like you said, a tweet and it just picks up. It just picks up and it just takes its own legs. It grows its own legs and it just begins to grow and just manifest. It's amazing to see that.
The funny thing about that tweet is like, I think that was like a podcast. Like it was like a cup. They were some type of podcast, like
blog
network or something.
Yeah.
And we like straight took that thing. We straight took it over. Like,
Yep.
And that was like, yeah, that was awesome. Like, it was just, I mean, it's just for me, right? And I think both of you guys said something that stuck out to me. Like, Jay, you said like, I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think like that's what's starting to happen to me. I'm the same as you. Introvert people ain't gonna believe this, but I'm an introvert as well. I'm cool with being by myself. I never thought that I would be doing anything like this and to be comfortable doing it. So it's like, yo, like this is something that, I think that is for me. And, like you said, Tam, it's like, it's yours. You know what I mean? And this is your thing. I don't got to do what everybody else might want me to do. And the thing that you said that stuck out to me is I think sometimes we get lost in supporting and bringing up everybody else's dreams. And I think that's what happened to me. Like, where I finally realized, like, things started happening for me where I'm like, oh, damn. Oh, shit, this is getting ready to happen to me. Like, my son, get ready, the birth of my son. I'm like, oh, I'm having my first child. It's like, okay, like, that can happen to me. You know what I mean? Like, because I supported everybody else in when those moments happened to them. So then it just started to hit me like, yo, I have gotten away from doing things for myself or things that, finding something that I actually enjoy doing. So, yeah, I mean, the community is like literally, I mean, you put one question out there, like Jay said, you put one question out there like, hey, how do you do that? Or what kind of mic do you use? And like 600 people will respond.
Yeah.
So it's dope.
Yeah. I've definitely reached out to different people and I've had different people even tell me like, hey, if you ever need anything, let me know. And then when I think about where I've gotten with like Autumn, Jay, Chris, and Audrey, like we have our little group chat and we literally talk pretty much every day. I feel like I could say we talk every day at this point. And the group chat isn't on Twitter. We've moved from Twitter. So it's like, and we do Zoom things. And so in a situation with quarantine where I was never really a fan, I remember a friend of mine years ago always wanted me to Skype her. And I'm like, just come over. Like, why we got to video chat and do all this like dumb stuff? And you live in the same city. But then fast forward, man, that was about 10 years ago to now where it's the Rona where you don't necessarily want to be up in all these different people's faces. And then I remember the eve of my birthday, me, Jay, and Autumn just on a Zoom, or not a Zoom, Google Duo,
Right.
having drinks to celebrate our birthdays, because her birthday is the day after mine. And that wasn't my idea. You know what I mean? That was Jay's idea. And, you know, I have people that I know, but I already was in a season of kind of like evaluating my relationships, evaluating like where I'm at in life. And I don't want to say like how these relationships serve a purpose, but there are people that are seasonal people, and you have these lifetime expectations for them that you shouldn't have. Or I noticed, you know, when I was in the struggle, when we were deep in grief, you know, because of the girl's dad or just all these different things. And then when I get to a place of more a sense of, I don't want to say normalcy, because life is never really normal, but just not crisis, I just noticed I can't relate to certain people because that's really all they want to talk about. And I'm not a person that wants to stay stuck on something that I'm not on. Like in that moment, feel it. I'm all in. I'm very passionate about whatever. But then it's kind of like I don't want to just stay there, you know what I'm saying, and obsess about it. And so the group and the community, that's definitely been my favorite things. I'd say least favorite things, some of the, like, it's a lot of the promoting side. Like for me personally, I just want to create content. Like it literally sometimes physically is a release for me, depending on how maybe stressed or anxious I feel or whatever. I just want to create content. I love what Quan said earlier about when you put a show together, and then I always listen to it afterwards to make sure it makes sense, because especially since I'm usually just off the dome talking about whatever, I'm like, okay, did that actually make sense when you put it all together? And I love that. But having to be like, hey, this is my episode, like come listen to me, or stuff like that, I don't like doing that, because it's kind of like I feel like I'm trying to promote myself or force you to jump on board with something that I'm like, don't you want to grow? Like, don't you want to just listen to this? But then I'm realizing that if you don't do that, people aren't going to think about it. Like they're not gonna, you do, like I do have obviously my regulars who listen faithfully, so of course I appreciate y'all, but you want to grow, because then people might, like I noticed when quarantine first started and people weren't going to work, you don't care about numbers, but then again you do. And so when you see stuff dropping off, it's kind of like, well dang, but I get it. And so I the promoting, that's my least my least favorite thing about all of this. So what would you say y'all least favorite things are?
You know what? I want Quan to go because I'm always interested in hearing what the fella's least favorite thing. Quan, you on mute, bro.
Yeah, I had a feeling this was going to be thrown at me next, right? So, I want to hear what Quan has to say about this, right? Yeah, like I said, earlier, Tam, my thing is putting myself out there. So, and just like everybody on the show today, I'm introverted. So, I could be by myself doing something. I don't really have to do all that stuff. So, just like I said, the promoting, just like you said, earlier, he was like, yo, I saw your commercial, that took some time for me to do. It was like, I was like, shit, I got to get on here, and I got to, but it was like, it made me put myself out there, and it was like, yo, you got to do it. It's for, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's for the show. It's for the fellas, you know what I'm saying? It's for our brands, for us. You got to put yourself out there, So I think that, I don't want to say I don't like it. I just have to I'm not used to it. I'll just say that I'm not used to it. So I'm getting used to it now. But in the process of getting used to it, it takes some time. It takes some time. So just that, like Mike saying, yo, you get on Twitter today? I'm like, yeah, yo, I got on, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so now it's like I'm it's like creature of habit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm doing it like trying
Quan.
to make sure I do it consistently now. So
Quan, stop making me sound like Joe
No.
Jackson, yo, to the people.
I can see that though. I can see
Michael,
that.
Ballin, you're gonna get it. No, you know, like nah, but you know that part, right? J Boog when he with the towel and everything and the pool, yeah.
Accident. Yep.
Yeah. But no, I think, you know, but even with that, Mike, I think it's good that you do that because it pushes me to get out of my box.
I'm not Joe Jackson, yo. I
No,
do.
You're not Joe Jackson. You provide that motivation that's needed. So, like I said, for me, it's just that it's not like I don't like it. I just have to get more used to it.
Man, it's a really good question. So if I had to pick one, I guess I would say promoting. But I mean, I really don't mind it, right? My issue with promoting is like I don't want to be that dude. Like I struggle with like, yo, what's doing it too much? You know what I'm saying? So I struggle with like, damn, I did post something today. Should I like keep doing it? Should I wait till tomorrow? Should I? So I don't want to be that person that's just like that's overkill to the point where like you see it and you just used to seeing it, so you just keep scrolling by because it's like, oh, that's just Mike posting, you know, promoting again. So it's like, so I mean, I do struggle with that, and that's why you know I was kind of on the fellas about it. Like, yo, maybe if it's coming from us at different points, it won't really seem like one person is just doing, you know, just overkilling it. But I mean,
well, let me say this real quick to that point before you go too far. The thing that I've learned about Twitter, especially, like before I joined retweet groups where the weight is not on me, because as a solo podcaster, it's just me. So I've noticed in group dynamics, especially when like y'all, the four of y'all each have your own Twitter and Instagram and all that. But there are other groups that I know that one person, like so-and-so runs the Twitter. So you never really know like who you're talking to or whatever. But before I joined retweet groups, what I used to always tell myself is Twitter moves so fast that if you tweet something in the morning, but then somebody's not on there, like the days that I'm not on there as much, like work is busier right now, which sounds bad because it makes it sound like I'm on my phone all day in case my coworkers are listening, but I'm not saying that. But like if I miss, like on Saturdays when me and my daughters, we went and got our nails done earlier. So all three of us went, we were literally there for hours. Then boom, I'm here recording. So I ain't really been on Twitter. So I miss a lot. And so what I started thinking is, so you got the morning Twitter people, you got the afternoon Twitter people, you got the night Twitter people. Twitter never sleeps because the world never sleeps and there's people in different time zones. So, you know, you might miss somebody if you only tweet once, even though I don't like doing all that, but I realize you kind of have to in order to be on people's radar.
Yeah, I do. It's just something I struggle with. And that's what I thought, you know, for us, the benefit of being in a group is we are up at different times. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm usually one of the first people up. So I'm usually one of the ones that throw something out in the morning. And, you know, sometimes Brandon is on Twitter later. So it's like, hey, when you on there, just throw something on there.
Right.
But I would say if I had to, all right, to go against the grain, I will say one thing that I don't really like is trying to like, I'm not going to say gain followers. I'm going to say gain listeners. So when you want, you know, you feel like you got something like a great episode and you like, oh man, it's going to be, everybody going to listen to that one and you see it not performing. I just hate that because I think I set myself up sometimes to, you know, and I think I poll question this one time, like amongst podcasters, who checks their numbers, how often.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I catch myself like being that dude, like I'm checking multiple times throughout the day, you know what I mean? Because not that I care so much, but it's just I'm so ingrained in this that I want to know, I want people to be hearing what we got to say. And that's why, like, I'm so supportive of everybody else, because I do realize, what it takes. And I think that's also why the community is the way it is, because I think we all realize how hard this shit is.
Right.
And I think it's people who aren't doing podcasting who think, oh, y'all just getting on a mic and talking. And I think that, the community realizes that it's way more than that. You know what I mean? And I think that's why we're so supportive. So I guess if I had to pick one, it would be something like that. I don't know. I'm becoming a podcast nerd, man. Like, I enjoy everything about it. It's just weird. It's weird because it's so not me and it was so unexpected. But if I had to pick one, I guess it'd be one of those two.
I think one thing I'm going to add, and I'm going to go in a completely different direction with this, but it's something that has somebody brought it up in the retweet group, and it made me realize why I'm not a fan of when this happens. But okay, so I'll follow most podcasters.
I knew you was going to go there.
Yep. But it's twofold because I've talked about on there. So one thing one thing I dislike about, and I always like to say the politics of podcasting, shout out to Spence for that, from Views from the 7, because that's where I actually got that from. But I don't like the people who try to use you in the sense of they follow you. So I follow back because I see you're a content creator and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, let me support you, and then unfollow you. So I actually got an unfollow app. It is the best $1.99 that I spent, which sounds whatever, but y'all ain't my homies. Like, I don't know y'all. So the premise that you're following me under is false, because you're making it seem like we're going to support each other. Like, they'll hurry up and retweet one thing of yours and then unfollow later. Now, maybe they decided they didn't like the content or whatever, or I retweet a lot of people's stuff and I learned there are certain podcasters where they don't really like getting into all that because they feel like their followers only expect their stuff. My people should already know that's what I'm about. But then the other thing is I don't like is the people who they'll just DM you episodes and never say a word. Like, they don't even say hi. They don't say nothing. And it's kind of like, well, what do you want me to do with this? Like, do you want me to retweet it? Do you want me to whatever? And then this one person in particular I could think of, I used to, but then I kind of started thinking like, okay, but who are you? And like, you don't even speak to me, but you send me episodes every week or sometimes multiple times a week. And I don't know if it's anybody you know, and I ain't gonna put no names because I don't say things to like for real throw shade, but it's really like, it's kind of like I am here for community, so I will support the community and rock with the people who rock with me. But when you get into stuff like that, it just makes me feel like you're trying to use me, and then it makes me feel a little jaded, and I don't want to feel that way. So then I just had to tell myself, well, you don't have to do anything with it. They didn't say anything to you, so you don't have to do anything because you don't even know why they sent it. Maybe they want you to listen. And if I want to, I will. And if I don't, I won't. And people just got to be okay with that, because I know even in the retweet group I'm in, we've made the agreement that we are going to retweet each other's stuff. But that doesn't mean everybody listens to me. And that doesn't mean I necessarily listen to everybody. And that's okay, because whatever is for you is for you. And whatever is the listeners that are for me, I love my like regulars. I love when people give me the playback of something they actually got from an episode that I know, okay, yeah, even if they took it a different way than what I meant it, I don't even care because you got something out of it. You know what I mean? So that though, yeah, that the politics, because then it does make me it feel like the industry, and I don't like that. Like, but it comes with it. So, you know, it is what it is with that. Jay, you said you had something with that.
I don't I don't deal with the politics of that whatsoever. Like, I'm like anti-social media, but I'm on social media like very lightly. So I've never cared about how many followers I have or who I'm following. Like, I've been told, like, people will DM me like, you're not following me, and I'm like, oh, my bad. Like, who cares? Like, what matter? You have 2,000 followers. Why does it matter that I'm following? Well, because whatever. So I'm like, I don't get that whole thing. Like, I guess because I'm still pretty maybe naive to the podcast world and all this stuff. Like, I know it's a courtesy. It's the right thing to do. If somebody follows you, you follow them because, you know, blah, 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 your listeners and might be interested. I get all that stuff. But my thing is, if you follow, I'm thinking you're following me because you're actually interested in what I'm presenting in my podcast and things like that. And in turn, if I'm interested in your stuff, I will follow you. But don't follow me in hopes of me following you, and then you get mad that I'm not following you because what, you know, you happen to, I mean, I don't know. I just don't get that whole thing. And so I just don't buy into it. And if people stop following me because I'm not following them back, I'm fine with that. I just feel like I have a certain, I guess, product, or I'm in a certain lane, and whoever's with me is going to be with me. And, you know, I'm a part of the retweet group also. And I'm appreciative of that. And, you know, I do my best to try to retweet and do all this stuff because, like, you're right. My audience may be interested in other stuff, even though I may not listen to them. So I at least do that courtesy. But I'm not, I feel like if I'm going to follow you, I'm really interested in at least what you have going on. Like, I'm just not doing randos. I don't know. That's just how I am. And I'm not on Facebook because the Facebook is the devil. And I've already said this.
So, the second person saying that on this show. Penrose said that on the episode that we recorded.
I didn't like it personally. And I know, like, if I would like to grow my podcast, you know, if you're going to be in a podcast world, you kind of got to put yourself out there. So I'm similar to kind of like Quan in a way. I'm not as low key as he is because I am on.
You are on Twitter because that's where we met. Definitely,
I'm on there, and I put myself out there, but more as a personal thing. I guess the thing that I hate most, or not hate, the least thing that I like about it is the promotion, because I don't know, I'm just not into it. Like, I'm kind of like what Mike said. I don't want to be like, listen. Here I am. Here's my thing. It came out on Friday. It's going to be
listen or not.
And that's it. And anyway, what y'all doing? What else is going on? Did y'all see this article? Like, I'm just more on a personal level type of social media person, and not so much promoting my show. And I could stand to do a little bit better in that department, but it's just, I just don't like, I guess, the business and the politics too much of it. I just want everything to happen as naturally and organically as possible. And, you know, maybe one day if I get big enough, I can get an assistant and they can do all that stuff for me. I'm not into it. I just want to do my thing and keep it moving.
See, I had that thought early on because it's a lot of work, like being on Twitter, being on Instagram. You got to promote different ways on different social media apps. And I like to have it actually sound like me. So then I got to think of something that, you know, or not captions. I don't even know what I'm trying to think of, what tweets or whatever that sound like me, but also are original and not just the same thing every time. Cause that's just a me thing. I get bored with the same thing. I struggle with consistency, which I've said that on here before. I'm more like a free spirit and I just want to do what I feel. So, you know that, but for me, why I don't want to do that is because, you know, my show, like when Quan mentioned brand other thing, that's another thing it's not my least favorite thing, but it's just a weird thing to think about, is that I'm creating some sort of brand, you know, like when they see Tamara to the Break of Dawn podcast, or even see me on Twitter and Instagram, they're going to expect certain things from me because of what I was already doing. Cause those are both my personal, accounts anyway. And so when you think about brand, and I think about how my show is like my journal, it would seem weird to have someone else handle, well, for me, like my social media, because it's like I say on my show, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, and I'll follow you back. That means people are expecting to interact with me. That means if they want to tweet at me about an episode, I mean, my assistant may, I don't know how, you know what I mean? They might not even talk like me, and then it's just going to be weird. And then there's the controlling side of me that doesn't want to give anyone else control in that way of like, because this is for me. That's why God said that. He know how I am. So, stuff like that.
I get you with that.
I do.
Oh, go ahead.
No, my bad, Jay. I do agree with you though. I do think that follow to unfollow is so lame. Like, yo, who takes the time to do that? I mean, and it's really bad on. Where it's really bad? It's really bad on IG.
Yep.
Because IG doesn't tell you who
there's an app
is
for
still
that
following
too.
you like Twitter does. And I will say,
Yep.
you might have to share that with me because that irks me so bad. And I will say that I am petty that I probably go once a month through my Twitter followers and like, if you ain't following me, I'm gonna follow
That's
your
not
ass
petty
because
though. I
follow
was doing
everybody.
that too. Weekly sweeps where I would go through. Dude, the first time it was months into podcasting, so like 400 people. Because y'all saw how just all these people started following me. Probably because I retweet everybody's stuff. So 400 people that at some point y'all unfollowed me, and I was kind of offended. Like, if I'm honest, 'cause I'm just like, how dare you? Like, but then I had to realize you don't know these people. Like, these ain't your homies. These are just some people on the internet. Go on and unfollow them and go on with life. And then I got the unfollow app that actually sends me notifications when people unfollow me. I paid that $1.99. It was worth it to just, it's just, I feel like that's the part of the industry, the politics part. Like, in real life, I would not be on Twitter like this. I wasn't on Twitter at all before. I mean, I had a Twitter, but man, I'll pop in every now and then, tweet, and it wasn't like now. So it was worth it for me. Yep.
It's also lame too, those people that that'll leave you a bad rating. Like, I also want to know who takes the time to do it. Like, to me, it takes so much energy to go to someone's podcast and then leave a 1 star and say, oh, I didn't like how they talked about. It's like, yo, you really took the time to do that.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
it's lame. But like you said, it's politics.
Yep. And see, the ratings thing, review thing, I didn't even care about that at first because it is what it is. I just want people to listen, but I realized other people would want to do review swaps. So then and then I start to appreciate it because then you get to see what people think of your show, especially the people that just leave you a review just because. That's kind of been like, it lets me know kind of like how you tracking with me, or sometimes people will say favorite episodes, and stuff like that. So I've actually come to appreciate it, even though it's kind of weird at first, but you kind of grow into different things. Like, I've had to grow and become way more tech savvy than I was when I first started. Like, I was recording, I had a little mic that I plugged into my phone, and that's how I recorded most of my show up until sometime in this month is when I started using the mic that my dad had got me for my birthday and like actually recording on a computer. So then I've had to learn editing. But the beautiful thing about the community is, like, Jay, she did a test run with me when I first got StreamYard just so I could at least feel comfortable with recording. And then I'm learning about editing, and I've had to do that on some episodes where I had technical difficulties. And then I feel like, hey, I'm dope. Like, when y'all hear this, y'all ain't gonna know that it took me and Penrose 4 hours to get that recorded, and we had all these technical difficulties. Like, y'all would never know So then it's kind of like I've had to grow in that aspect. So
sometimes that's the best feeling though. When you go through that, because when you and I recorded on my show, we were all off sync. Like we recorded fine, but when I went back and listened to it, because I think the connection had dropped, you were all out of sync. And I remember I was telling you, I was like, man, this whole episode is jacked up. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I sat there 4 hours sitting together to make it so people, when I spoke and then you spoke, when I spoke and you spoke, because we were all off. I was so proud of that episode. I didn't, I was like pushing it and like everybody needs to listen to this just because of all the work, the 4 hours it took for me to do that. And after I was done, I was like, I did that. Like I figured it out, and I didn't know how to do that at first, but now I know. And look where we are. So I was pretty happy.
The crazy thing with Primrose is, like I said, it took we had like so many just dumb technical difficulties that to me, it just didn't even make sense. Like, why is this even a part of our lives right now? But what I appreciate about him is that he could have been like, hey, I got other stuff to do. It's not his show. I don't got time to be like, but he just made himself available. And then what was good about it is then the next time when I recorded with Baylor and D Murph, we kind of had some of the same technical difficulties, but I knew what to do to fix it very quickly. So we was able to get in, get out, and do what we had to do, versus I didn't know what to do and we had to figure it out. And so it's kind of like all as part of this journey, the more you learn, I don't know. Yeah, it is very satisfying. Like that episode when I guess by the time y'all hear it, it will have already dropped or whatever by the time this airs. So y'all that heard it, just know that it's a miracle that it even came out, and like you wouldn't even know. So what are some things that y'all are looking forward to? And even Mike or Quan or whoever, like y'all got a lot going on right now in the OTR world. I just saw something yesterday. Yeah, brand new. Y'all like really out here doing big things. I have a blog that I'm working on, which to me that's exciting. Having more guests, mapping that out, and even having y'all back just because I already talked to y'all anyway. So I like to have people on that it's like, okay, I know we got rapport or whatever, but like, what are some things y'all are looking forward to? I don't know where y'all are at as far as like, I know for me, this is the end of season 2. So like things are going to happen in season 3, but what are y'all looking forward to? What are y'all working on that you can share, of course?
Well, we announced yesterday that we're starting a new live stream show called OTR Sports. And that will be, so you guys will see a lot more of Quan and Brandon. So Quan and Brandon will be the faces of that because
okay.
That's why you haven't seen me, Tam. That's
that's why. Okay,
yes,
okay.
Jay, that's why I've been we've been trying to get some other things in order, OTR related.
Right.
So just like Mike was saying, you're gonna be seeing me a lot more and Brandon more on the OTR sports side of things, and don't want to.
That will be. Let me jump in real quick, Quan. That'll be live streamed on Sportscaster. Thanks to our wonderful co-host Alex, who has some connections out here in the world.
Yeah,
he got us, connected with Sportscaster, so you will see them, Brandon and Quan, live streaming. We thought it'd be a great idea. I mean, me and Alex will be on it as well, time to time, but we wanted to center it around Brandon and Quan because when it comes to football, like their banter between those two is just like it's hilarious. So I was like, "Yo, y'all might as well put this on record." So we're going that route with OTR. We also, I don't know if you noticed, we started a while back, but we kind of fell off after Insecure. But we will be doing what we call OTR Films, which is a segment that will probably be bi-weekly. What we're trying to do is focus on Black movies, black documentaries. We watch them and then we just give a review and how we feel about it. We got the normal OTR that you hear. That'll be still weekly. We still doing the interview things. So yeah, man, that I can really speak on. That's what we got going on now. It's a lot. So but we ready for it. And then of course, Alex and I have the crossover media thing that we're doing. So
Yes.
we got some big things coming with that, and that's moving a lot quicker than we thought. So yeah, we're a little busy over here at OTR, but I think it's a good thing for us because, like I said, I mean, it's just we weren't expecting this. So the fact that people want to hear us, it's like amazing to us. I know it's like, wow, like people really want to see what we got to say. Like that's crazy. So we just try to give people what they want, really.
With OTR Films, if I'm honest, Project Power, I actually went ahead and watched it after I listened to y'all episode, and it's funny because
she should check it out. She listened to you guys say,
yeah, like they had told me, but see, I don't watch TV like that. Like Power though, and I've actually been rewatching it to whatever. But I've been rewatching it to kind of like I rewatched it to prepare for when the news jump off is starting or whatever. But other than that, I don't know. I've never really been heavily into TV. And so I don't watch stuff like that. But y'all commentary on it was so funny, and how Alex was so like, yes, this is it. And Mike was like, it's all right. And so I watched it and I messaged him and I was like, yeah, it's all right. Like it was the part that I really enjoyed about it wasn't even the superhero part. It was the fact of the father literally willing to lay down his life to get his daughter back. Like just for someone who's has all kinds of issues with my bio dad and it being a black father and a daughter, that's the part that at the end I was like, wow, and just the way he took that other girl under his wing and was almost like a father figure to her. And then you find out she don't got a dad and stuff like that. So like for me, that's the stuff that's the superhero part of it. I was like, where did y'all come up with this? Like, what is going on? Machine Gun Kelly just blew up and I wasn't really feeling it. And I like superhero movies, but I don't know. It was all right.
Quan and shoot, I would say the three of them. The Quan, Alex, and Brandon, but definitely Quan and Brandon are the movie buffs in the crew. Like I'm like you. I don't watch much TV.
Yeah.
I'm a documentary type guy, so Quan usually hit me like, they got a documentary you gotta check out. So I'm that kind of guy. I'm that guy, but it was cool. I mean, I can say I watched it. I probably
right. That's where I was at with it. Like, well, I watched it, but
I think we'll do more. Provide more films to kind of go and dissect and cross-examine. Sort of go through it. I know for film is OTR film is more so, like I said, of having those films, going through everything, highs and lows about it. As well as being able to eventually down the line, put out independent films, to be able to research and look at independent films, Black independent films, and be able to give our critique on it. So OTR film is good. I think like I said, Mike was saying we're going to bring it bi-weekly. And so, hopefully, people will continue to tune in and, and enjoy it. I think it's good that we're able to actually put those films out for people to actually get a chance to listen to what we have to say about it, just like you did, and then go back and watch it, or maybe they could watch it at first, or maybe something to a film that they've seen. And then we're able to actually get with them, particularly from that particular film and discuss it and, talk about what was good about it, from the plot aspect of it, the CGI aspect of it, and the characters.
I would just say that before I I answer your question. What got me hooked on OTR? Well, I was already kind of listening, but I tuned in to one of you guys' live and y'all were doing Insecure. I will never forget this episode. It was the booty button episode. Playing that scene over and over again, and I was like, typing it. But it was so funny. It's just like hearing you guys, like, especially about Insecure, because Insecure is kind of like, I guess, more geared towards females. So to hear like you four guys like talk about it and just like, really like into the plot and like, look, this is what he's doing, and I'm like, what? So I was really like tuned in from there. I was like, okay, these are the kind of guys I need to like.
We appreciate that, because that's kind of what we were looking for,
right?
We kind of knew that it was, it was more based for, it was more based on relationships and more based for a woman's, based on what they're, looking for movie wise or like HBO series wise. So for us to actually indulge in it and actually like go through every episode and, pull out the things that we saw that was actually funny about the particular show, or, real life situations or, events. That's what we were looking for. That's what we were looking for, Jay. We were definitely looking to hear that.
And I must say, because you guys don't see this, OTR Quan is the OTR film is OTR Quan's brainchild. That was his idea.
Okay.
Quan said, "Hey, yo, let's do this film thing," and I ain't gonna lie, I was like, "Yo, I don't watch movies like that." But I mean, it really it ended up being a good idea, and the concept behind it was sort of like what I said about your show earlier, Jay. Like, your format, you got a format. Like, yo, you got the quick three. When you tune into Jay's quick three, that's what you're gonna get. You know what I mean? You can look forward to that, and you're like, yo, what is that? What are those three things gonna be this episode? So it was like trying to give us that, some type of format, that some type of niche that we can stick to, and so that our listeners can expect that when they see an OTR film, it's like, all right, they about to talk about this movie, and it's going to be strictly that, because we go off the cuff sometimes when we on. So we trying to kind of get a formatted show idea, and that's what the idea was. It from that was the idea from OTR film.
Cool.
So as far as what I'm trying to do or what I want to see with my podcast, I just started it as kind of like what Tam does, kind of like a diary. I just wanted to just put things out there. But as I'm starting to learn more about the podcast world and just learn more about podcasting, period, is more things that I want to do. Like I've always said, I'm entertainment at heart. I'm music at heart. So there's going to be like maybe some more special episodes. I do a lot of bonus episodes when like BET Awards come out or the NAACP Awards come out or MTV Awards come out. I like to talk about that. I want to do interviews. I started out interviewing some podcasters just so I can get into the groove of maybe interviewing, music artists or people that's in the music business and things like that. So I'm not putting that out there in the atmosphere yet, but there's things in the works that, I'm trying to lay, down the work to get that stuff done. Coming up maybe pretty soon, but, I just want to expand it a little bit. And if I have to have 15 special episodes along with the Jay's Quick 3, then that's what you're going to get. So hopefully that people enjoy that. And, I'm excited about just the different things that I can expand to, because even though I'm Jay's Quick 3, I feel like there's no box you can put me in. I can do whatever, however I want to do it. And, those that are down will ride with me. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So my listeners, this is what I did at the end of season 1. I guess I could tell y'all what to look forward to. Like I said, more guests. I kind of want to, when I did the toxic traits series, I kind of want to get more into bringing that back. Not necessarily that topic, but just bringing back different series, having more guests. That's the biggest thing, because all the stuff I want to talk about, I love talking about with people. And so it's kind of like, I like people that are very passionate about whatever we gonna talk about. And I know, like, I had Penrose on because I knew that he always is already tweeting different stuff about relationships and this, that, and the other. So I knew he would give me a good perspective, a unique perspective, and articulate himself well. So I want to get into more of that. Y'all get to meet some more people either in the podcast world or not, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm thinking about all the people that I know that either I've worked with or I go to church with, and I just have a lot of dope friends that do a lot of dope things. So just kind of even having them on the show now that I figured out a better way to kind of record remotely, because the episode the episode with my homie Jason, we were literally on a phone call and I was using this Tape-A phone app or whatever, Tape-A phone call app, and it just recorded the phone call, which is cool, but nah, you know what I mean? I want to do stuff a little bit different. And then the blog, that's going to be coming. Thoughts to Ponder is kind of like the where that stems from. So Thoughts to Ponder is always, I always think of just weird things. Like I've always kind of been like that, or, you know, I wonder this or I wonder that. And so Thoughts to Ponder is going to be me going a little bit more in depth with my thinking and breaking stuff down a little bit more. Still going to have that journal entry feel, but it's just going to be, I just can write a little bit more in depth than I can talk sometimes, because I can like sit down and focus my thoughts and like edit stuff out and be more concise with stuff. So that's what you can look forward to. And then I might start adding bonus episodes. Somebody recently told me, like, the more you get into recording with other people, you're going to probably have drop in more than one episode a week, just because you're going to get to recording with so many people that it's like you'll be way out there as far as when it drops. And then it's like, for me, this is still my journal or my outlet. So it's kind of like, if I'm recording this and then I feel a type of way, then hey, I might need to drop a bonus episode, confessions or something. So kind of stuff like that, just making stuff look a little more organized or whatever. So that's what y'all could look forward to from me. And then whatever else I feel like it, because I could do whatever I want because it's my show. You know what I'm saying? Definitely, I'll always drop on Thursdays, though. That ain't going to change. And I don't take no breaks just because, I don't know. I just don't. But let's go ahead and get into the weekly podcast shout out. As I said, I like to do this, like actually say it now so you can hear it. Go to the episode notes, check it out, because everyone probably doesn't read the episode notes. So I will have all of these lovely people that are on today, all of their social media handles and the links to their shows will be in my episode notes. But then I want to give a shout out to She Gets It podcast. It's so crazy because I've been interacting with her on Twitter for a while, but I actually just really started listening to her show, which, mind you, she drops episodes like not every day, but like
it seems like it.
Like,
Seems like
yeah. So
so she the master of the podcasting game.
I guess because
she part of No Limit, huh?
Because she just and it's not just frivolous content either. It's like she talks about her life. She talks about just a bunch of different stuff that it's helpful for your growth for male and females. You know what I mean? That's definitely who you should check out. And then, as always, take care of your mental health, man. 2020 has been heavy. I mean, gosh, it's been, I don't want to say it's been the worst year of my life, because actually, me personally, things are actually doing well for my family personally, or going well, but collectively, the heaviness of everything that's going on, in the country, in the world, it's just been a lot, and it's been a lot of deaths, and it's been a lot of pain and all that. So take care of your mental health, take breaks from social media if you need to, or breaks from people, like detach, be okay with cutting off them friendships that are dead weight, draining, whatever, to take care of you. Take care of your physical health. eating well is helpful. I'm not always perfect at this, but I've gotten better at it, because if I eat crappy food, then I feel like trash later on afterwards. So eat right, work out, because you just feel more energized when you work out. And I could tell when I've been slacking, like I kind of have been, because I haven't been sleeping well. So make sure you do that. And then take care of your spiritual health. Like at the end of the day, all three of those things, your mental, physical, and spiritual health, you have to take care of. Y'all know, for me, my relationship with the Lord is important. I read my Bible, journal, stuff like that. But whatever that looks like for you, you need to figure that out, and you need to do it, because you'll just feel better and be able to navigate the trials of life better if you take care of all three of them parts. And I will see y'all next season, even though it's next week. Bye, y'all.
Peace.
Peace out.
So first things first, shout out to Sniper T for this beat, and all his information can be found in the episode notes. Now, like I say on social media, I want y'all to interact with me, so here's a few ways you can do that, and the links and whatnot to all these methods are in the episode notes as well. Now, you can leave me a voicemail. Call 720-457-4022. You can email me. Hey, y'all can follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, and I'll follow you back. And then you can go ahead and slide in the DMs, just not on no weird stuff. You can also like the Facebook page, and the link on there goes to my email as well. Now, what I need y'all to do is pay attention on my socials for when I ask for feedback for the Thoughts to Ponder episodes that air every other Monday, because the reality is that y'all feedback is what makes those episodes dope. So, leave me a voicemail, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or email me. Just holla at your girl.